Greetings, my friends, and it's nice to be here together. And it's been nice this week for me to be talking about refuge and bring that, certainly highlighting that in my own heart. It's such an important quality that I value tremendously. And there is a somewhat provocative, evocative statement about refuge that goes something like this: that when a person has really gone for refuge, they no longer have anything to complain about. So no more complaints. So that's certainly a provocative statement, since some people find that complaints are an ordinary part of their life. And it depends a little bit what we mean by complaints. I think there's healthy protesting, to protest, to witness against. Publicly witness is the etymology of protest. And certainly it's Buddhism has a very deep streak of feeling a certain unsatisfactoriness about an aspect of life, especially the way in which external happiness, finding happiness in external things, doesn't lead to long-term happiness or secure, stable happiness. So a certain unsatisfactoriness with looking and searching and wanting. An certainly a protest against social injustice is hopefully a very important part of Buddhism. But to not complain. The word complain comes from the Latin word lament. So it kind of indicates a little bit the... And what does it take? What kind of refuge, what do we take refuge in? So when we sit to practice, no matter what happens in meditation, we don't complain about it. We don't lament it. It's almost the same as not having a problem with anything as we meditate. But that's not quite right either. There might be problems that need to be solved when we meditate. Maybe we need to adjust our posture. But to lament, to bewail, to have pity, to somehow get caught and tense or tight or contracted around what happens. To go for refuge is to trust that we don't have to do that. We can stay open, we can stay relaxed, even as we protest, even as we problem solve, even as we feel something is unsatisfactory. And maybe we can feel it's unsatisfactory to complain, to lament. There's a different way, a deeper way of being with how things are in this world. So to begin this sitting perhaps, if you're inclined, to treat it as a complaint-free zone for these minutes. And to take a posture that supports you to be alert and present. And to gently close your eyes. And without much more to do, what is it if you turn your attention inward? Is there any place within, beyond the agitation, beyond your concerns, underneath it all or at the center of it all, where there might be a quiet place, a peaceful place, or a way of being open to experience? And even if it's just a small little corner of what is happening for you right now, to trust, to offer a deep trust to this ability to be open, calm, peaceful, so that all the ways that you are agitated or reactive or troubled by things is held or is related to from a place that trusts, being open and aware to what is. The alternative is, in a certain way, to trust our agitation if we get involved in it. To trust our thinking if we keep spinning off in it. To trust our wonderful emotions, difficult emotions, if we keep getting hooked into them. And for these minutes, perhaps to trust a place where we just stay quiet and open to what is. Trusting being aware and mindful of what is more than being involved with what is. And perhaps having the rhythm of breathing be a support, be a grounding for this open awareness. To be involved with breathing in a simple, direct way. So awareness can stay open and relaxed and present. So awareness doesn't get pulled into other things, thoughts and feelings. To be open to the experience of breathing. So in a certain way, breathing, the experience of breathing can rest in awareness. The experience of breathing has breathing room in awareness. Breathing in and breathing out. Trusting that you do not need to get involved in thoughts. Trusting you don't need to be involved with your emotions. Trusting the simplicity of being present to an open awareness of breathing, with breathing room for your breathing. and you find yourself caught up in thoughts, no need to complain about that or lament it. And now don't just simply return to your breathing. Return to the present moment. Perhaps you can return to trusting awareness, trusting being with your breathing. Perhaps you can take refuge in awareness. when we go for refuge, when we rely on refuge, we step away from the things that cloud our hearts. When we go for refuge, we no longer trust or take refuge in clinging or greed, desires. We don't take refuge or don't rely on hostility and regrets and resentments. When we go for refuge, we no longer take refuge in being indecisive or uncommitted, or even confused. And when those things are not there, when those things don't cloud the heart, then the beautiful qualities of being, the best in us, has a chance to show up. To go for refuge is to allow what's beautiful of ourselves to have a chance to come out into the light. It's also a way of helping us to recognize those good qualities in other people. That others also have the capacity to be free of greed, hatred, and delusion. Others also have the capacity to be peaceful, at ease, to be free. Others also have the capacity for these beautiful qualities of generosity and kindness, love, integrity, to come to the forefront. And so one of the aspects of going for refuge is, in going for refuge, to really take the time to appreciate other people, to appreciate what's good about them, to appreciate their potential for freedom and peace and love. And it's in this world of trusting and appreciating what is deep in each of us that we can find a way together that is productive and useful, and as individuals, as family, as friends, as society. May it be that coming out of this meditation today, that you consider how you can go through the day appreciating people more. And maybe people need appreciation more than a lot of the other requisites of life. People need to be respected and seen as worthy and appreciated. May it be that out of our meditation together, the many of us are here, that we find ways of appreciating others during the day. May it be that if each of us can appreciate 2 people, there'll be over 1,000 people, 1,200 people appreciated. If we can appreciate 4, it's 2,400 people. May it be that our capacity to appreciate and be present radiate outwards to benefit many, many people. So greetings, and today is the fourth day of the five-part series on refuge, and it's probably the central religious emotion that classically Buddhists engage in. It's also a classic kind of a ritual or movement of commitment, of involvement, expressing the deep trust and faith that Buddhists have. In fact, sometimes your person is defined as a Buddhist when they've gone for refuge. There's no one who can say who and who is not a Buddhist, so everyone's welcome to self-identify as they wish. And I've known people who have been dedicated Buddhist practitioners and students for decades, really, who do not call themselves Buddhist, and happily so. And I've known people who, the first time they hear Buddhist teachings, say, I'm a Buddhist, this is it. So it's not that important whether you're a Buddhist or not, but there is this to kind of emphasize the importance of refuge for many. The idea is the refuge is what kind of makes a person a Buddhist, in a kind of formal way, maybe. And as I've been saying here these days, the Buddha actually didn't really encourage people to go for refuge in the Buddha Dharma Sangha. He really emphasized, when he emphasized refuge, it was finding a refuge within. And one of the passages that I read maybe yesterday that I would like to read again, the Buddha said, I will teach you the refuge and the path leading to the refuge. And what is refuge? So here's a very clear definition of what the Buddha wanted to define as the refuge. It is a triple refuge, and maybe not coincidentally. And the refuge, he says, is the destruction of greed, the destruction of hatred, and the destruction of delusion. This, the Buddha said, is called the refuge. And that's powerful language, talking about the destruction of these things. It means really they're uprooted, the possibility of really being finished with them once and for all. And this is kind of like the great kind of potential that Buddhism champions, emphasizes, celebrates. That we don't have to accommodate greed, hate, and delusion. We don't have to just only learn to be wise with it and navigate with it, be mindful of it so we don't give into it. It's possible to somehow get down to the roots of where it kind of lives dormantly and pull those out, is the classic metaphor. And here in this language, to destroy. Even well short of that, to have some qualitative experience of real peace, a real absence of clinging, absence of greed, hatred, and delusion, that really experience the heart that way without it, and to have recognized, oh, this is possible. And for some people, in the course of their ordinary everyday life, it's kind of rare to really feel the full potential for a deep, abiding peace or openness or sense of deep connectedness and intimacy and closeness, which in the Buddhism, over and over again, defined by an absence, the absence of greed, hate, and delusion. And it's not just, it's difficult for many people in daily life to really have a deep, fully embodied, fully integrated experience of this. For some people, it's going on meditation retreats or regular meditation that really opens that possibility. For some people, it's going into nature or being at the beach for the day, or sometimes it's certain relationships we're close to, and it feels like in those relationships something very deep can happen and let go of, something can let go. And so if that letting go is the refuge, what refuge here means is we trust that. We trust that place where we don't cling. And short of destroying greed, hate, and delusion, they will come back. Clinging will come back. We'll get caught up and contracted and resistant and angry. We will complain and and or resist or cower away. And but to this idea of refuge, it's like where our faith is, where what we trust our lives with. We trust more than almost anything else this place of tremendous goodness, this freedom of peace. And people might easily question, well, that can't be that good. It's dangerous out there in the world. And we have to take care of ourselves, and just trusting being peaceful and not clinging is, not good enough. But you can turn this around, and that is to really appreciate, to understand, because we know peace, to really see very clearly that getting caught up in hostility and resentments and regrets is not a good deal. That getting caught up in resentment and hostility is a kind of way of harming ourselves, is a loss, is a diminishment of who we are. That is where danger is. It's dangerous to be caught in those things. To be caught in clinging or greed or lust, to actually feel how we lose the peace and the calm and the subtleness or the openness, or as we lose this place where there's no greed, hate, and delusion. Because of greed, we very clearly feel that what's precious, what's valuable is lost. Something profound and wonderful is lost in the process of getting clinging and greedy. And it feels that this is not worth it. This is a loss. This is also kind of harming for myself. This is a diminishment of myself. I'm no longer whole, integrated. Now I'm becoming fragmented around this kind of tightness and preoccupation with something. Same thing with delusion. It's possible, a little bit, it can be hard, and maybe even hard to imagine, but it's possible to watch delusion arise, watch judgment, bias, prejudice arise, and see how that diminishes ourselves. See how that's a loss. That to treat someone or relate to someone through the filter of prejudice, it's awful for them. And it's also awful for us. It's a loss. So to have this visceral experience within of absence of greed, hate, and delusion, and then say, this is where I want to live from. Because to not live from there is a loss, is a harm, is not really worth it. Maybe living without greed, hate, and delusion is not the full story of a satisfied life, but it certainly is a pretty wonderful beginning for if you have some other ideas of what's important for your life. But whatever is important for you to do in your life that is not directly tied to the absence of greed, hate, and delusion, don't pick up greed, hatred, and delusion to accomplish those other things. The baseline is to find a way of living where we really have faith, trust, confidence in that place of freedom. So refuge in Buddhism makes the most sense. It's not a logical, it doesn't have to be a logical thing. It doesn't have to rely on reason to get you there. But as we practice, or as we have a really deep experience of the possibility of peace or freedom, inner freedom, then refuge makes sense. Then refuge can be, this is what I have faith in. This is what I trust. And then the work begins. Because it's not that easy to stay that way. Unless greed, hate, and delusion have been destroyed totally, all these things will return. And then the arguments will begin. And then the struggles and the questioning. What do I need to do here? Maybe the idea that I'm supposed to be angry. I have to be angry. Other people want me to be angry. I'm supposed to be upset. All these kinds of movements and judgments and ideas of how we're supposed to be, that's different than the absence of greed, hate, and delusion. The other ways of being that there's authority from society and family that we have to sometimes have to want and be greedy or be angry or be even deluded. And so do we succumb to that? Do we give in to that? And we can feel we have refuge, we trust the place of freedom. But what about this circumstances? What about here? And that's where the practice is, up right on that line between where the freedom is and where there's tendencies to lose that freedom. That is a fascinating place of practice, a really important place of practice. And if a person has clearly, decisively gone for refuge, meaning they've decisively decided to orient their lives from that place where there's or the potential to be without greed, hate, and delusion, then it gives the context of practice a very powerful momentum and very powerful direction and guide. And it's a wonderful life. And my hope is that the ability to really learn how to navigate their life without greed, hate, and delusion, to navigate the life without clinging, will also enable us to live with great motivation, to live courageously. And so we don't complain, but we might protest. And allow us, when we should protest against social injustice, for example, that because we have refuge, we're able to do it without fear. We're able to do it with courage. And so this idea of refuge is not a passivity. It's only passive in the sense that there's no greed, hate, and delusion. It's not passive in terms of living from our compassion, our care, our kindness, our generosity, and our wisdom. I hope that this refuge can give you lots of peace and allow you to go through the world in a relaxed way, in a peaceful way, and make the world a better place. Thank you.